My name is Lucas Oliveira. I was 19 when I arrived in Los Angeles with a backpack, a passport stamped B2 tourist, that expired in 3 months, and a phone number written on a torn piece of notebook paper. The paper said, TOZ, 32355500198, ask for floor space. I had $47 in my pocket, all in crumpled 5s and 1s, and a plastic bottle of water that tasted like the Tijuana bus station. I left Sao Paulo because my mother's cancer bills were eating the house. I left because the factory where I worked 12-hour shifts paid in promises. I left because the floor of our 2-room apartment in Villa Madalena had a hole big enough for rats to bring their cousins to dinner. The journey took 9 days. Bus from Sao Paulo to Mexico City. Another bus to Tijuana. Then the walk. Not the romantic kind with stars and songs. No. The kind where the coyote takes your money, points at a hole in the fence and says, "Core." I ran. I fell. I crawled under barbed wire that tore my jeans and my skin. I walked for 6 hours with 12 strangers who didn't speak. One woman carried a baby wrapped in a rebozo. The baby didn't cry. I think it was already gone. We reached a drainage ditch on the American side at 3 a.m. The coyote vanished. A helicopter spotlight found us. I hid under a mesquite bush, thorns in my scalp, heart in my throat. When the light passed, I walked alone. I found a payphone outside a 7-Eleven in San Isidro. I called TOZ. The line was busy. I called again. A woman answered in Spanish. "Ze neo morames aquí." I had no plan B. I took a Greyhound to Los Angeles with the last $20. The bus smelled of bleach and fried onions. I sat in the back, backpack on my lap, and stared at the floor, gray vinyl, sticky with soda, littered with receipts. I thought, this is the first American floor I touch. It will not be the last. Union Station at 2 a.m. was a cathedral of concrete and echoes. I followed the Portuguese speakers to the basement bathroom. I washed my face in the sink. I slept on the floor outside the janitor's closet, using my backpack as a pillow. The tile was cold. 3 degrees Celsius. I counted the cracks. There were 47. 1 for every dollar I had left. I whispered, "Obrigado" to the floor for holding me. I didn't know why. Morning came with a security guard's boot nudging my ribs. "Move, kid." I walked. I walked until I found Our Lady of the Angels Church on Temple Street. The sign said, "Todos bienvenidos." I believed it. Father Miguel, a Mexican priest with kind eyes and a limp, found me on the steps. "You hungry?" he asked in Portuguese. I nodded. He gave me a bowl of pozole and a cot in the basement. 40 cots. 1 bathroom. The floor was concrete, painted gray, cold as the bus station. I took the cot by the wall. I laid my backpack down. I slept. The basement smelled of bleach and feet. I woke at 5 a.m. to the sound of coughing. An old man named Don Armando from El Salvador slept next to me. He had a scar across his throat and a cough that sounded like gravel. He offered me half a bolillo. I took it. I wrote his name on the torn notebook paper. Don Armando, gave bread, July 15, 03. Father Miguel woke us with a bell. Breakfast was coffee and pan dulce. Then the line for day labor formed outside on Alameda. 50 men. Women with babies. Teenagers like me trying to look older. The contractors rolled by in pickups, pointing like we were fruit. Mr. Kim picked me first. Korean man, 60s, voice like a drill sergeant. He owned a furniture factory in Vernon, Brazilian rosewood, custom orders for Beverly Hills mansions. "You strong?" he asked. I flexed. He laughed. $5 an hour. Gosh. No talk. He handed me a broom. I started that day. Sweeping sawdust. Sanding tabletops. Carrying slabs of wood that weighed more than my mother. The factory floor was concrete, stained with oil and blood from a worker who lost a finger last month. I swept it clean. I smiled when Mr. Kim said, "Good floor, boy." I wrote his name, Mr. Kim, factory owner, July 16, 03. Pity in his eyes? I worked 12 hours. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I ate a sandwich from the Roach Coach, $3 ham and cheese no mayo. I sent $50 home via Western Union. The clerk knew me by week 2. For Maria Oliveira in Sao Paulo? I nodded. My mother wrote back on a receipt from the FIRA. The bills are down to 8,000 Brazilian reals. The doctor says 6 more treatments. I kept the receipt in my backpack next to the concrete chip I broke off the church floor with a screwdriver. I put it in a matchbox. I wrote on the matchbox, "First American floor." What? The church basement had rules. Lights out at 10. No shoes on the cots. No cooking. I broke the last one. I bought a hot plate at the 99-cent store. I cooked rice and beans in a pot I found in the dumpster. Don Armando shared his salt. We ate on the floor, backs against the wall, whispering about home. He told me about the war in El Salvador. I told him about the rats in Villa Madalena. We laughed. The floor was cold, but it was ours. I learned English from the factory radio, Howard Stern in the morning, Spanish ballads at night. I learned numbers from the time clock. I learned silence from the other workers who looked through me. I saved every dollar. I bought a sleeping bag, $1.15 Army surplus, smelled like mothballs. I bought a transistor radio, $8 pawn shop. I bought a notebook, blue cover, 100 pages, $1. I wrote in it with a pencil stub, day 30. I have $200. I sleep on the floor. I'm not dead. Mr. Kim gave me a raise in September. $6 an hour. You good with floor? He said. He let me sand the rosewood. The dust got in my lungs. I coughed blood once. I didn't tell anyone. I sent $100 home. My mother wrote, the doctor says remission. You are our miracle. I cried on the concrete, the sleeping bag damp with tears. I turned 20 in October. No party. Just a letter from my mother. Come home when you can. I wrote back on church stationery, soon. I have a plan. I didn't have a plan. I had a floor. The notebook was half full. 50 pages. Every page a night on the floor. Every night a promise. I wrote on the last page of 2003, 2003, I slept on concrete. 2004, I will sleep on wood. I was 20. I had a sleeping bag, a hot plate, and a chip of concrete in a matchbox. I had a plan. I was 20 when I learned the factory floor had a name, Area 3, Finishing. Mr. Kim said it like a prayer. The concrete was black with decades of varnish, oil, and sweat. It smelled of rosewood and despair. I swept it every morning at 5:45 a.m. before the machines woke up. The broom was older than me, bristles worn to nubs. I swept in circles the way my mother swept our dirt floor in Villa Madalena. I whispered, obrigado, to the floor for holding me upright. I didn't know why. The factory was a beast. 20,000 square feet of noise and heat. Brazilian rosewood came in on pallets from Santos, stacked like gold bars. We cut it, sanded it, stained it, polished it into dining tables for movie stars who never saw our faces. I started as a sweeper. $6 an hour. Then sander. $7. Then polisher. $8. Mr. Kim watched me like a hawk. You good with hands? He said. No talk. Just work. I nodded. I wrote his name in the notebook. Mr. Kim promoted me January 5th, 04. I still slept in the church basement. The cot was mine now, number 27 by the window that didn't open. Don Armando moved to a shelter in Skid Row. He left me his salt shaker. I kept it on the hot plate. I cooked feijoa every Sunday. The other men lined up with Tupperware. We ate on the floor, backs against the cots, telling stories in 3 languages. A Guatemalan named Cheap taught me to play dominoes. A Nigerian named Tun taught me to swear in Yoruba. I taught them obrigado. We laughed until Father Miguel banged the bell. I saved every dollar. By March, I had $1,200 in a Folgers can under the cot. I sent $800 home. My mother wrote on a receipt from the farmacia, remission confirmed. The rats are gone. We miss you. I taped the receipt in the notebook next to the concrete chip. I bought a used bike, $35, rusted, but it worked. I rode it to the factory, to the church, to the library on Vermont. I checked out Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read it under the street light, the bike chained to a pole. I underlined, assets by freedom. I wrote in the notebook, floor is not asset. House is. Mr. Kim gave me night shifts in June. $9 an hour. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I polished tabletops under fluorescent lights that buzzed like hornets. The floor was slick with polyurethane. I slipped once, landed on my tailbone. The pain shot up my spine. I laughed. The other polishers laughed. We called ourselves Os Fantasmas, the ghosts. We worked when the city slept. We ate cold rice from plastic containers. We dreamed of beds. I met Rosa in July. She was 22, from Oaxaca, worked the staining line. She had a laugh like wind chimes and a scar on her wrist from a table saw. She spoke Zapotec when she was tired. We ate lunch on the loading dock, backs against the wall, feet on the concrete. She shared her tamales. I shared my feijoa. She said, you smile too much for someone who sleeps on the floor. I said, the floor is honest. She kissed my cheek. I wrote her name in the notebook in red pen. Rosa, tamales, kiss, July 12th, 04. The factory had a union rep, white guy named Chuck Beergut clipboard. He tried to organize us. Mr. Kim fired him in August. No union, he said. Family business. He gave us a pizza party instead. Cold Domino's. I ate 3 slices. I wrote, Mr. Kim, pizza instead of rights, August 20th, 04. I started a secret fund. $5 from every paycheck. For the day we walked out. I turned 21 in October. No party. Rosa gave me a cake from the Mexican bakery, tres leches, $12. We ate it on the factory floor at 3 a.m., the machines silent. The concrete was warm from the day's heat. We licked the frosting off our fingers. She said, "You will own a house." I said, "I will own the floor." She laughed. I wrote, Rosa, Tres Leches Prophecy, October 2nd, 04. I bought my first cell phone in November, a Nokia $1,150 prepaid. I called home once a month. My mother's voice was stronger. The doctor says I'm cured. I cried in the church bathroom, the tile cold under my knees. I sent $1,000 home. I had $2,000 left in the Folgers can. I opened a bank account at Bank of America on Figueroa. The teller, a white woman named Susan, asked for ID. I showed my Brazilian passport. She smiled like I was a child. Welcome to America. I wrote her name, Susan, pity smile, November 15th, 04. Mr. Kim made me lead polisher in December. $10 an hour. I trained the new guys, mostly teenagers from Central America, eyes wide, hands shaking. I taught them to sand with the grain, to polish in circles, to never lean on the table. I paid them out of my pocket when Mr. Kim shorted them. They called me Jeef. I wrote their names under allies, Cheap, Tund, Miguelito. The notebook was volume 2 now. I wrote on the first page, "This floor is not mine. But it will be." I taped a photo of Rosa on page 47. She was smiling, tamale in hand, factory floor behind her. I was 21. I had a Nokia, a bike, a lead polisher badge, and a concrete chip in a matchbox. I had a plan. I was 22 when I left the church basement. Father Miguel hugged me at the door, pressed a $20 bill into my hand and said, "Go build your floor, Filio." I had $4,200 in the Folgers can, a lead polisher paycheck every Friday, and a studio apartment listing on Craigslist. $550 per month, Koreatown, no pets, no credit check. The landlord's name was Mr. Park, Korean, 60s, gold watch, voice like gravel. He met me in the alley behind the building, a 6-unit stucco box with bars on the windows and a dumpster that never closed. "You pay first and last," he said. I counted $1,100 in 20s on the hood of his Lexus. He gave me a key. Room 2B. Second floor. The stairs smelled of kimchi and cat piss. The apartment was 300 square feet of cracked linoleum and despair. One window facing a brick wall. A kitchenette with a hot plate and a mini fridge that hummed like a dying bee. The bathroom had a shower that dripped brown water. The floor was linoleum, peeling at the corners, stained with something that might have been blood. I knelt and touched it. Cold. Honest. Mine. I wrote in the notebook, first rented floor. Mine. March 1st, 05. I moved in with my backpack, the hot plate from the church, and Rosa. She left her cousin's couch in East LA to share the rent. We bought an air mattress at Target, $1.39, queen size, leaked air every night. We slept on the floor anyway, the mattress deflated by morning. We laughed. We cooked phai jiao on the hot plate, rice in a pot balanced on 2 bricks. We ate cross-legged, backs against the wall, the linoleum cool under our thighs. Rosa said, "This floor is ugly but it's ours." I kissed her. I wrote, Rosa, moved in, floor ugly but ours, March 5th, 05. Mr. Park raised the rent in June. $600. Market hot, he said. I paid. I wrote, Mr. Park, rent hike, June 1st, 05. I worked double shifts at the factory. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. $11 an hour now. I trained the sanding crew. I fixed the broken belt sander with duct tape and prayer. Mr. Kim gave me a $500 bonus. "You save me money," he said. I sent $1,000 home. My mother wrote on a receipt from the Mercado, "We bought a Real bed. The rats are history." I taped it above the hot plate. Rosa got a job at a nail salon on Western. $9 an hour plus tips. She came home with acrylic dust in her hair and $50 bills folded into cranes. We saved. We dreamed. We bought a real mattress, $200 firm, no leaks. We celebrated on the linoleum, eating tres leches from the corner bakery, the floor sticky with frosting. Rosa said, "One day we'll have wood floors." I said, "One day we'll have a house." I wrote, Rosa, a wood floor prophecy, August 15th, 05. Mr. Park knocked in September. You have girlfriend? No guests. He threatened eviction. I showed him the lease, silent on guests. He grumbled. I paid $650 rent in October. I wrote, Mr. Park, girlfriend rule, September 20th, 05. I started a side hustle, refinishing furniture in the alley. Old tables from estate sales, $20 each. I sanded them on the linoleum, sawdust in the shower drain. I sold them on Craigslist for $150. Rosa posted the ads. We made $1,000 a month extra. I bought a used truck, Ford Ranger, 1998, $3,000. Red. Rusty. Mine. I turned 23 in October. Rosa baked a cake in the hot plate, chocolate, lopsided, perfect. We ate it on the floor, the linoleum warm from the sun through the window. Mr. Park banged on the door. Noise complaint. It was 8 p.m. We were laughing. I opened the door. We'll be quiet. He saw the cake. He softened. Happy birthday, he muttered. I wrote, Mr. Park, birthday grumble, October 2nd, 05. The linoleum cracked in November. A jagged line from the door to the fridge. Mr. Park refused to fix it. You break, you pay. I glued it with Gorilla Glue. It held. I wrote, linoleum, cracked, glued, mine, November 10th, 05. Rosa and I saved $12,000 by December. We opened a joint account at Chase. The teller, white, young, name tag Emily, asked for 2 IDs. Rosa showed her Mexican matricula. Emily smiled like we were children. Welcome to banking. I wrote, Emily, pity smile, December 5th, 05. I quit the factory in January 2006. Mr. Kim offered $12 an hour to stay. I said no. I started Oliveira Refinishing. Business cards printed at Kinko's, $1.50 for 500. I worked from the apartment, the truck, the alley. I refinished dining tables, bed frames, antique chairs. Rosa quit the salon. She ran the books, scheduled jobs, answered the phone in perfect English. We made $5,000 a month. We paid Mr. Park $700 rent in February. He took it without a word. The notebook was volume 3. I wrote on the first page, this floor is rented. Soon it will be owned. I taped a photo of the truck on page 23. Rosa was in the passenger seat, hair in the wind, linoleum visible through the open door. I was 23. I had a truck, a business, a cracked linoleum floor, and a woman who believed in wood. I had a plan. I was 26 when I bought my first house. Not a mansion, just a 1920s bungalow in Echo Park, 900 square feet, cracked foundation, termite scars, and a for sale sign that had been up for 18 months. The realtor, a white woman named Karen with a clipboard and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, said, it's a fixer-upper. Perfect for investors. I wasn't an investor. I was a kid who once slept on concrete. The asking price, $320,000. I had $85,000 saved in the joint account with Rosa, $40,000 in the business account, and a pre-approval letter from a credit union that didn't care about my accent. I offered $300,000 cash, 30-day close. The seller, a retired couple from Pasadena, accepted in 48 hours. I signed the papers on the cracked linoleum of 2B, Mr. Park hovering like a vulture. I wrote in the notebook, Echo Park House, mine, June 15th, 09. We moved in on July 4th. The truck was loaded with the air mattress, the hot plate, the Folgers can now full of receipts, and the concrete chip in its matchbox. Rosa carried the tres leches cake from the old bakery. Mr. Park handed back the deposit, $5.50 in crisp bills. You good tenants, he said. His eyes were wet. I wrote, Mr. Park, return deposit, soft, July 4th, 09. The house smelled of mildew and old dreams. The floors were original oak, warped, scarred, beautiful. I knelt and touched them. Warm. Honest. Mine. I placed the concrete chip in the entry hall, right where the sun hit at 3 p.m. I built a small acrylic box around it, $12 at Home Depot. The plaque read, First American Floor. Never forgotten. Rosa kissed my forehead. Now we build the rest. We lived in the house while we fixed it. I refinished the oak myself, sanded every board by hand, stained it dark walnut, sealed it with 3 coats of polyurethane. Rosa painted the walls azul celeste, the color of the Sao Paulo sky before the smog. We replaced the cracked windows with double pane. We installed a real stove, gas for burners, $400 at Sears. We bought a Real bed, king size, memory foam, $800. We made love on the oak floor the first night, the polyurethane still tacky under our backs. Rosa laughed. Sticky love. I wrote, oak floor, sticky love, August 1st, 09. Oliveira refinishing became Oliveira Homes. I hired cheap and ton from the factory, $25 an hour, health insurance, 401k. We flipped 3 houses in Echo Park that year. Bought for $280,000, sold for $480,000. Profit, $150,000 after costs. I paid off the bungalow in 2011. No mortgage. No bank. Just a deed with my name in black ink. I framed it above the fireplace. Rosa hung her mother's rosary beside it. I turned 30 in 2013. Rosa threw a party in the backyard. Mariachi, Feijoa, tres leches, 50 guests. Mr. Kim came with his wife. He walked the oak floors in socks. You good with wood now, he said. I gave him a tour. He cried in the hall when he saw the concrete chip. I was hard on you. I hugged him. You taught me to sand with the grain. I wrote, Mr. Kim cried on my floor, October 2nd, 13. We had a daughter in 2014, Sophia, named after Rosa's mother. She was born at Cedars Sinai, 7 pounds 3 ounces, lungs like a samba singer. We brought her home to the bungalow. I built a crib from reclaimed rosewood, same grain as the factory tables. Rosa rocked her on the oak floor, singing, O Sol Nasera. I installed radiant heating under the wood, $8,000 worth every penny. Sophia's first steps were on warm oak. I filmed it on my iPhone. I wrote, Sophia, first steps on warm floor, March 15, 15. Business exploded. We flipped 20 houses in 2016. Bought a warehouse in Vernon, same street as Mr. Kim's old factory. I turned it into Oliveira Homes HQ. 40 employees. Architects. Contractors. A daycare on the 2nd floor. Rosa ran operations. I walked the job sites in boots, no tie. I remembered every name. I paid $40 an hour minimum. I gave equity to the first 10 hires. We went public in 2018, NASDAQ, OLIV. $1.2 billion valuation. I kept 51%. The IPO party was in the bungalow backyard, mariachi, now 200 guests. Sophia, age 4, cut the ribbon with plastic scissors. I bought Mr. Park's building in Koreatown in 2019. $2.8 million. 6 units. Same cracked linoleum in 2B. I gutted it. Installed oak floors. Radiant heat. Smart appliances. I turned it into Casa do Chao No. 1. 6 studios for immigrant families, $800 per month, utilities included. Mr. Park came to the opening. He walked the new oak in slippers. You kept the spirit, he said. I gave him lifetime residency in Unit 1. Free. I wrote, Mr. Park, resident, Casa do Chao, June 1st, 19. The notebook was volume 5. I wrote on the first page, this floor is wood. Soon it will be home for hundreds. I taped Sophia's first birthday photo on page 88, her tiny feet on warm oak, Rosa's hand steadying her. I was 36. I had a deed, a daughter, a company worth $1 billion, and a concrete chip that never left the hall. I had a plan. I was 38 when I opened Casa do Chao No. 1 to the public. Not a shelter, a home. 6 studios in the old Koreatown building, oak floors glowing under recessed lights, kitchens with real stoves, bathrooms with rain showers. Rent, $800 per month for a family of 4, utilities included, no credit check, no deposit. The waiting list hit 348 hours. I stood in the courtyard at sunrise, barefoot on the warm wood, and read the first application aloud to Rosa. A Guatemalan mother named Marisol, 3 kids, husband deported, working nights at a car wash. I approved her on the spot. She moved in the next day. Her youngest, a boy named Tomas, ran across the oak floor in socks, screaming with joy. I knelt. This floor is yours now. I wrote in the notebook. Marisol family, first tenants, Tomas runs, June 2nd, 19. We scaled. Casa do Chao No. 2 in Boyle Heights, 2020, 12 units, former motel, $4.2 million purchase. No. 3 in South Central, 2021, 20 units, old apartment complex, $7.8 million. Every building got the same treatment. Get to studs, oak or bamboo floors, radiant heat, solar panels, community garden on the roof. Rent capped at 30% of income. I funded it with Oliveira Homes profits. No loans, no investors, no pity. By 2022, we had 100 units across lane, 400 residents. 70% immigrants. 0 evictions. I hired the people who once slept on my floor. Cheap became site superintendent. $120,000 per year, company truck. Tundran maintenance, $110K, full benefits. Rosa oversaw resident services, free daycare, ESL classes, job placement. Mr. Kim retired, volunteered as floor inspector. He walked every new unit in socks, tapping the wood with his cane. Good grain, he'd say. I wrote, Mr. Kim, floor inspector, volunteer, January 15, 22. I flew to Sao Paulo in 2023. First time in 20 years. My mother met me at Guarulhos, thinner, hair white, eyes bright. The old apartment was gone, replaced by a high-rise. We bought land in Paraisópolis, the favela where she grew up. Built Casa do Chão, Brazil number 1. 50 units, concrete floors polished to a sheen, solar roofs, community kitchen. My mother cut the ribbon with garden shears. She cried on the polished floor. You gave us back the ground. I wrote, May ribbon cut, Brazil, July 10, 23. Sophia was 9. She spoke Portuguese, Spanish, English and Korean from Mr. Kim. She designed the playgrounds, swings made from reclaimed rosewood, slides painted azul celeste. She asked, why do we always use wood floors? I took her to the concrete chip in the Echo Park Hall. This held me when nothing else did. What is the upgrade? She nodded. I wrote, Sophia understands floors, September 5, 23. We went national in 2024. Casa do Chão number 50 in Miami, 100 units, former hotel, $18 million. Number 100 in Houston, 200 units, old office building, $42 million. Total residents, 5,000. I flew private now, Gulfstream G280 company jet, but I still sat in economy when I traveled alone. The pilot, a Colombian woman named Valeria, saluted when I boarded. I cried in the lavatory. I bought the old factory in Vernon in 2025, Mr. Kim's place, shuttered since 2018. $12 million. Turned it into Oliveira Homes Innovation Lab, 20,000 square feet of robots, 3D printers, prefab modules. We built entire homes in 48 hours. Oak floors, smart walls, net zero energy. Cost, $80,000 per unit. I gave the first one to Marisol's family, upgraded from their studio to a 3-bedroom in Boyle Heights. Tomas, now 10, ran across the new oak screaming. I filmed it, posted it on Instagram. 10 million views. Hashtag Casadokeo. I turned 40 in 2025. The party was in the Echo Park backyard. 500 guests, mariachi, feijão and cauldrons, Tres Leches Tower. Mr. Park came in a wheelchair, oxygen tank trailing. He walked the oak with a cane. You kept the chip, he whispered. I knelt. It's the foundation. He gave me a key to his old building, now Casa do Chão number 150. For the next kid. I wrote, Mr. Park, gave key October 2, 25. Oliveira Homes hit $5 billion revenue. NASDAQ, OLIV $25 billion market cap. I still owned 51%. I signed 10,000 paychecks a week. I signed Marisol's son's college scholarship, full ride to UCLA. I signed Cheap's daughter's wedding venue, Casa do Chão number 200, free. I signed Mr. Kim's pension, $10,000/month for life. I built Casa do Chão Academy in 2026, trade school in the old Vernon factory basement. Free tuition. Carpentry, plumbing, electrical, flooring. First graduate, Tomas, age 16, certified in hardwood installation. He installed the oak in Casa do Chão number 300. I wrote, Tomas, first graduate, installs own floor June 1, 26. We went global in 2027. Casa do Chão Mexico number 1 in Tijuana, 500 units, $120 million. Brazil number 100 in Rio, 1,000 units, $300 million. Total residents worldwide, 50,000. I flew to every opening. Always barefoot on the new floors. Always with the concrete chip in my pocket. Rosa and I renewed our vows in 2028, 25 years. Same Echo Park backyard. Father Miguel officiated via hologram from LA. Sophia, 14, was maid of honor. She read from the notebook, the floor held us. Now we hold the floor for others. 1,000 guests. The oak floor gleamed under string lights. I wrote, vows renewed, oak floor, August 15, 28. I never forgot the notebook. Volume 7 sat on my desk in the Innovation Lab, next to the concrete chip in its acrylic box. I wrote in it every night. The empire built 10,000 homes a year. I signed the mayor's affordable housing contract. I signed the governor's prefab initiative. I signed the kid who once shared salt with me, Don Armando, now 85, lives in Casa Duchau number 500 free. I am 46. My feet are calloused from walking new floors. My accent is softer. I still go barefoot in every Casa Duchau. I still carry the concrete chip. I still remember the cold of the first night. I'm not a success because I got rich. I am a success because the floor that held me now holds thousands. I'm 50 now. The year is 2033. My hair is silver like the moonlight over the Tijuana fence the night I crossed. My knees creak when I kneel to touch new oak, but I still do it at every ribbon cutting. Casa Duchau is no longer a company. It is a movement. A $50 billion movement that builds 50,000 homes a year across 20 countries. We employ 200,000 people, 80% immigrants or their children, 70% women, 100% floor walkers. We have our own university, Instituto Duchau, campuses in Los Angeles, Sao Paulo, Tijuana, Nairobi, Lisbon. We have our own bank, Banco Duchau, 10 million accounts, 0 foreclosures. We have our own airline, Vu Duchau, electric jets that fly residents home for every holiday that keeps a heart on the ground. My face is on murals in favelas and billboards in Tokyo. My story is taught in schools from Paraisopolis to Pyongyang. The concrete chip is in the Smithsonian, under glass, next to Rosa Parks' bus seat. But this is not the end. This is the eternal floor. I still walk every new site barefoot. No shoes. No socks. I feel the grain. I remember the cold. I carry volume 9 of the notebook, archival paper, handbound in Sao Paulo, cover embossed with the concrete chip's silhouette. I write in it every night with the same pencil stub from 2003, sharpened to a needle. The entries are shorter. My hand shakes from years of sanding. But the words are heavier. I built a museum in the old Echo Park bungalow in 2029, Musu Duchau. The front door is the original from Tubi, Koreatown, scratched, painted over, sacred. Inside, my backpack from 2003, the matchbox with the concrete chip, on loan from the Smithsonian, the Folgers can full of receipts, the hot plate that cooked 1,000 fajos, the first Oliveira refinishing business card, Mr. Park's return deposit $550, Rosa's Tres Leches recipe handwritten, Sophia's first playground sketch, the $50 billion IPO prospectus, the key Mr. Park gave me in 2025. The final exhibit, a blank notebook and a chisel. The plaque reads, "Your floor starts here. Chip it, build it, share it." I visit schools every month. I speak to kids who look like I did at 19, backpacks heavy with fear, eyes wide with possibility. I tell them in Portuguese, Spanish, English, Swahili, the floor doesn't care where you were born. It only cares that you stand. I give them a notebook, blue cover, 200 pages. I give them a 1-inch square of oak. This is your chip. One day you'll give someone a floor. A boy in Nairobi asked, "What if they laugh?" I said, "Let them. Laughter is temporary. Oak is forever." I mentor presidents. The UN calls for housing policy. I fly coach. First class still feels like stolen ground. I sit at the General Assembly and say, every human deserves 50 square feet of safe floor. Tax the clouds. Fund the concrete. The Global Floor Act passes in 2030, $10 trillion for immigrant-led housing over 20 years. My name is in the preamble. I cry in the Security Council chamber, the marble cold under my bare feet. I built a village in Paraisopolis in 2031, Vila Duchau. 5,000 homes. Polished concrete floors, solar roofs, vertical farms. My mother lives in the original unit, now a community center with a kitchen that smells of feijoa every morning. She teaches flooring to grandmothers on 3D printers. She still writes on grocery receipts. The floor is warm. The children walk tall. You are home. I frame every one. They line the walls like parquet. Mr. Kim died in 2032. Heart attack on the 9th hole in Palm Springs. I spoke at his funeral, 10,000 people in the Vernon warehouse, now a cathedral of reclaimed wood. I read from his last email, "You were right. Floor is family." I said, "He taught me to sand. I taught him to share." His widow gave me his old measuring tape, worn leather, brass faded. I hung it in the museum next to the hot plate. The plaque, "From Factory to Forever." Rosa and I renewed our vows again in 2033, 30 years. Same Echo Park backyard. Sophia, 19, officiated, licensed online, voice steady. She read from the notebook, "The floor held us when we had nothing. Now we hold the floor for the world." 5,000 guests. The oak floor was extended into the street, temporary planks, radiant heat, children dancing barefoot. I wrote, "Vows 30 Oak Street, August 15, 33. Sophia runs Instituto do Chao Global. She's 19, Stanford dropout, built an AI that designs homes in 3D from a selfie of the family. She flies to every continent, barefoot, notebook in hand. She calls me every Sunday. We argue about prefab versus reclaimed. We laugh about the hot plate. She says, "Dad, the floor is infinite now." I say, "Only if we keep chipping it." I started the chip project in 2033. Every resident gets a 1-inch concrete chip from their old floor. Church basement, motel carpet, favela dirt. They encase it in acrylic. They pass it to the next family. 50,000 chips circulating. A girl in Tijuana gave hers to a Syrian boy. He gave his to a Ukrainian girl. The chain is unbroken. I invited Mr. Park to dinner in 2033. Casa do Chao number 1000 rooftop, Sao Paulo, sunset over the favela. He was 92, frail, oxygen tank silent. He walked the polished concrete in slippers. "You kept the cold," he whispered. I knelt. I upgraded it. He gave me the original 2B key, rusted, sacred. For the museum. I wrote, "Mr. Park, final key, July 20, 33. I built a bridge in 2033, Ponte do Chao. From Tijuana to San Diego. Pedestrian only. Free. 100,000 cross daily, workers, students, families. No wall. Just a floor of reclaimed oak, heated, lit by solar. The dedication had mariachi, K-pop, a Syrian oud, a Kenyan drum. The president cut the ribbon. I cut the check, $1 billion, funded by Banco do Chao. I never sold the company. I never cashed out. I put it in a trust, the Chao Legacy Trust. When I die, it splits into 200,000 shares, one for every employee. My family gets the Echo Park bungalow. They'll earn the rest, floor by floor. Sophia runs the trust. Cheap's grandson runs the airline. Marisol's Tomas runs the academy. I still dream of the concrete. The 3 a.m. cold. The backpack pillow. The sound of Don Armando coughing. I wake up gasping, Rosa's hand on my chest. "It's over," she whispers. I say, "It's fuel." I get up. I write in volume 9. I go back to sleep. I wrote my will on a grocery receipt in 2033. Bury me in Paraisopolis. Under the community center floor. With the concrete chip in the notebook. No tombstone. Just a bench. Let kids sit and chip their stories. I signed it with the pencil stub. I gave it to Sophia. She cried. She framed it. I visit the concrete chip's empty case in the Smithsonian every year on July 14th, the anniversary of arriving in LA. I leave a new chip from the latest Casa do Chao. The cycle continues. I built a time capsule under the Museu do Chao in 2033. Sealed with titanium. Opens in 2133. Inside. My first notebook, Volume 1. The hot plate, the $550 deposit, Mr. Kim's measuring tape, Sophia's playground sketch, a flash drive with every resident's story, 50,000 voices, 100 terabytes of ground, a letter in 20 languages. If you're reading this, you're standing on proof that a boy with a backpack and a cold floor can warm the world. Don't forget the chip. Don't forget the walk. Don't forget to give someone a floor. I am 50. My feet are maps of calluses. My accent is a soft samba. I still walk every new floor barefoot. I still carry the concrete chip's twin in my pocket. I still remember the 3 degrees Celsius of the first night. The last entry in Volume 9, written tonight, July 14, 2033, 30 years to the day I arrived. I slept on the floor when I arrived. Now I have room for others. Tomorrow someone else will sleep on my floor. And the Chao continues. The floor is warm. The children walk. I am home. I close the notebook. I turn off the light. I listen to the oak in my dreams, warm, endless, holding. The chip gleams. The floor waits. The future walks barefoot.